This is the Daily Saints Pod with Zach and Greg.
Hello and welcome back to the Daily Saints Pod. My name is Greg, and as always today joined by my good friend and wonderful co-host, Zach. Mate, how are you doing?
Yeah, I'm not too bad, mate. International break has come at a bit of a weird time, to be honest. So I'm kind of just like, oh, right, okay, let's do football forever. But I think there's been enough that's happened over this last weekend to at least continue talking for a while.
It's
probably not on stream, right? I think we've come to the decision to take a couple of days off. We should be back next week sometimes, but we don't have a lot of time off, if ever. Realistically,
the nature of a daily podcast, mate, and the nature of the championship in general is that it all comes thick and fast. And you're right, the break has come at. I don't know. I can't really tell if it's like the best time for Saints or the worst time, because on the one hand, we have played a lot of football recently.
Yes.
I don't remember the last time we didn't have a midweek game. So that break is huge, and getting the rest and get some of those crucial players back. Couple of weeks with no pressure to push himself to get back to Leo might be exactly what is needed. But also, I mean, it's tough. Momentum is on our side at the moment, and so it might be the kind of stopping force of that. I don't know.
We'll have to see.
Regrouping time, right? Because after the international break, it's 8 games till the end, and that's it. It happens or it doesn't. So it's a thick, fast run-in, right? There's no gaps. It's
enjoy your time off. This is the only time off you're getting, is basically what it is for the players. And then, not just obviously we're going to talk about the championship today, as we alluded to yesterday, but just briefly at the beginning, mate, because obviously what is happening in the Premier League? Do we want to go back? I'm looking at the Tyneside derby. And I just think the idea of a mixed train or a mixed metro with Saints and Pompey fans on it is a terrifying prospect. Where I don't think a line of 6 police officers can separate the two teams, and that's no disrespect to either of those sides. Got to feel bad if you're Newcastle, though, right? Getting a double done over by your team, your rival team that got promoted through the playoffs is not ideal. And then you look away from that raging fire of that part of the weekend, you've got the Carabao Cup, where it's just not technically the Premier League. You're like, oh look, so the first and second team in the Premier League are playing one another. Oh look, Arsenal bottled it again. Oh, okay.
Yeah.
And then out the other window, you look at there's Spurs doing a trophy parade for. And I'm like, that's weird. And when I actually text you, the picture, you were like, surely that's not from today. I'm like, oh, Greg, it is.
That was it, right? And quite by coincidence and not related to the cup final, I was in Wembley, right? I went to the Pixar experience with my family. So was stood outside Wembley Stadium on cup final day thinking, this was some poor planning by me. And, this is what happens when my wife says, pick a date. So,
oh, mate, that's honestly, when you told me, I was roaring.
And it was I think I messaged you, man, the atmosphere here is, obviously it's a bit electric because it's a cup final, but
nothing
it's
like playoffs, is it?
Nothing like the playoff finals. It's just nowhere near the vibes. And the moment that I most enjoyed, I think, is we were leaving as most of the fans were coming in, to be fair. We timed it quite well. So we stood at Wembley Park Station waiting for the train, and a whole trainload of fans got off. And it was a mixture of City and Arsenal fans, as is the nature of travelling to a cup final. And they were all singing together, if you all hate Man United, clap your hands. And, mate, Who says there's no unity in football?
Like, you can always find another team to hate, right? Like that's always a thing that will happen. But you've obviously got that, and as you said, the atmosphere a bit sort of. It seemed more like a prelude to who's going to win the Premier League as opposed to anything else, right?
Yeah.
And in the consequences for us, because I do still want to remember that we are a Saints podcast, is that obviously does this mean that Arsenal now go in harder on the FA Cup because they need at least a chance of winning something, or do they completely ignore it and go full whack in the Premier League? I guess we'll find out.
Right. It's an interesting one because it's who do they take more seriously that week? Southampton at St Mary's or Atletico Madrid?
It depends, right? And as I said, you've got the Spurs thing where you didn't even believe it was real, and then they get battered 3-0 at home. And
So funny,
like, I just don't know. I can't help but harper back to our crossover with one of the Spurs lads last year, saying that we should be beating teams like Southampton, and now it's just going to be really nice to be like, well, you should definitely be beating teams like Lincoln City next year, right? Like, it's just that is.
But
that
look,
is
you're right. To answer your question, mate. No, I wish that we could have the joy of playing in the Championship every year with the financial benefit of the Premier League.
Well, we're getting there. We're a couple of more Hollywood owners away from it all being the most entertaining league, across the world.
I don't want to go back to a world where VAR ruins my life. Like I looked at Saturday, and the sun was out, and we went to St Mary's and had a beautiful day, and then we kind of took our foot off the gas and cruised to victory. I think it's safe to say and fair to say. And I'm like, look, you don't get days like that in the Premier League, right? There's no comfortable, even in the Championship. It's a rare commodity, but they do not exist in the Premier League. Every minute of it is hard fought for, and you are, because of the current tactical style that is preferred across the entire league, is you just get dominated out of games. And I don't know. Maybe it's just this
old start
issue
like
that
Oxford United feel that way about playing in the Championship, though, mate.
Yeah. Well, look, maybe it's just the scar tissue from how awful last season was, right? And a run of form that we're on at the moment, it's almost close enough to dangerous to give you that tiny bit of hope. Like, if we can play this well consistently, why couldn't this team give it a go in the Premier League? But
how many games were unbeaten under Russell Martin? Was it like 20 something?
Yeah, it was 25.
24, 25? Yeah, there you
25
go. So,
unbeaten, yeah.
How many games did we win in the Premier League last season, Greg?
2.
Once against Everton, another against Ipswich away. Yeah.
Yeah.
No, you're right, and that's part of the problem. And maybe they'll find solutions this time around. But the problem is maybe they will. Maybe we'll get there. And the most delusional thing of all, dear listeners, is not any of that. It is Greg telling me that, how am I going to find time to go to Wembley 3 times this year? I was like, what are you talking about? And I realised that what he meant was the semi-final for the FA Cup, the final for the FA Cup, and obviously the playoff final. And
it wasn't time. It was purely a financial concern when I'm like, look, I'm only really going to be able to afford one of these 3 trips.
No, I know, but we joke about your optimism and sometimes like a level of delusion. And then I can't joke about it too much, mate, because there's still some planning going into that. And you're putting some planning around the finances around it whilst you're in London on Carabao Cup final day that you didn't realise had taken place because you just put a punt at a random day to go to the Pixar experience. And all of these things combined is why we're such good friends.
In my defence, when I booked the Pixar experience, we were already long out of the Carabao Cup.
So, but yeah, I guess
we didn't hang about in that this season. It was, but yeah, look, three trips to Wembley. It's just the wallet's going to take a hit. You got to think about these things.
True. But yeah, I don't know how I feel about it. Like, as you said, the financial rewards are really important. Obviously, every player will only keep the players that we like and who want to play in the Premier League, because that's one of the reasons they've joined us. So yeah, it is what it is. I guess it's what we'll have to see. What we'll see.
I heard an interesting angle on it as well, mate. Because I don't know if we didn't really talk about it after the game last week, but Norwich, their manager came out with the standard line that we've heard all season, right? But the cost of their squad and their parachute payments, which it's not even noteworthy at this point because everyone has said it. At least Oxford had the creativity to moan about our advertising boards instead.
Yeah.
But parachute payments are kind of a thing that is quite important. And if we go up this year and come back down, we don't get any more, I think, is the way it works, right? Because they pause it if you go up for a year, and then you would recommence your parachute payments when you go back down. And so next year will be our last year of parachute payments, either in the Championship or if we come down from the Premier League. So we have to stay up to make it a financial success, or stay down and definitely go up next year to re-trigger them anyway. I don't know. That's a whole 4D chess layer of financial thinking that the simple answer is get up and stay up, right?
You're right. The whole thing is a nightmare, and it's not a nightmare that we'll have to think too much about until we know we're definitely in the playoffs, mate. And I know that it does feel like we're not going to win, not going to lose, win every game. I know that's very much sort of mine and your impression of how it is, but it could all change very, very quickly. And but I just wanted to get your take on it, because looking at what the chaos is at the moment, and just the absolute misery Spurs fans are going through. It's like, imagine being stapled to the bottom of the table and getting the second worst points tally of all time, and then tell us about I admit it must be really weird juxtaposition to go to a Champions League game and then next week lose to Burnley or whatever. But it's not really our burden to bear. We don't have the luxury of that.
I don't know if it's a popular or shared opinion with most Saints fans, but my opinion on it is that I would rather win the FA Cup and not even make the playoffs, personally, than get promoted. And I understand all of the stuff around it, and I understand that it is still going to be preferable probably to be in the Premier League, and that's fine. But I won't be too upset with another year in the Championship if it comes to pass, purely because of how difficult we made this run in, or how important we've left this run in to be, right? We made the job hard enough for ourselves at the start of the season that promotion is probably, even at this point, I would say, still not the likely outcome. So maybe there's some coping mechanisms in there. I don't know, but yeah, is what it is. Best case scenario, we win every game, get automatic promotions, win the FA Cup. Everyone's a winner, right? Job's good.
Yeah.
The only person who's not happy with that is my wife, who watches me pay out for 3 trips to Wembley, despite telling me we can only sort one.
Yeah, well, it's the same wife who you had to chat a lot with about whether or not you renew your season ticket, and they just renewed it for you anyway. So yeah. She knows how much it means to you, mate.
Absolutely. Same wife who I have to shout out on the podcast because of its hilarity surprised our whole family by meeting us after the game on Saturday. Let's go and watch the hovercraft in Pompey. Great. Did you bring any of us church change into? Nah, I didn't think of that. Right. All of us in full match day attire.
Oh, that's very funny. Shout out to my mother-in-law, who plays for the over 40 ladies walking football, and I got to go and watch that on Sunday for Havant and Waterlooville versus Bournemouth walking football, and I had a great time. And it did spark some discussions between me and you, Greg, about how much football touches everything. All walks of life, getting to watch it in all its wonderful glory across and up and down, and how it just brings everyone a little bit of joy, and turmoil depending on which team you support, obviously, but it's really, really good.
it blows my mind every time I take my son to his football training or to his football games, how many other games of football there are at every level, all around everywhere on the South Coast. Like, you get given an address for an away day and you'd be like, where on earth is that? And then you're driving through some like housing estate and you turn left and suddenly a field opens up and it's got 30 pitches on and all of them are full with people. And you're like, it's really important that people get this mental and physical exercise in their life to get through the rest of the week. And it's
You're
great.
right. I did have to look up where Bracknell was, mate. Like,
look, that's it. But look, speaking of all of the good stuff in football, let's fire quickly through a weekend of championship
the
action.
intro, my bad. That's entirely on me, and definitely didn't prepare Greg for it.
That's good, mate. This is why we have a daily podcast, because we have so much football to talk about. It just flows from us because we love it so much.
For sure.
So we're going to fire through, as always, mate, in reverse chronological alphabetical order, otherwise known as the list order on BBC, this time with the correct month.
Greg popping off about a result that I clearly was aware wasn't an accurate result. It's fine, we're back on track now, mate.
Back on track, it's all good. Friday night started off the weekend's action with a 3-1 win for Preston North End over Stoke City. I mean, both of those teams in a position in the league where there's still an outside chance of pushing on for going up, right? But really and truly,
the rest of the top six sort of drop out.
Yeah, really and truly, you would say probably safe and probably not going to push in for playoffs. I mean, I did see some analysis where your favourite, the Opta supercomputer, ran like a prediction over the percentage of league outcome likeliness based on the last 8 games and current position. And the only team in the league that had 0% chance of going up and 0% chance of going down was, I think, Norwich. Like,
right? Slightly a bizarre.
Yeah, like arguably and mathematically, everything is to play for and to fight for, but realistically, a solid win for Preston. They went 1-0 behind early doors, and then just switched it on and ran over Stoke. But
before that, they'd had 4 losses on the bounce and a draw. Stoke had finally got back to winning ways before picking up a loss, and it's just, considering both teams were quite up there in the playoff spots very early in the season. And I still think back, Preston will stick in my mind for a long time now due to the fact that was a game I went to where obviously straight after Will Spill was fired. So, kind of surprised that like they managed to kind of step back and beat Stoke, who again also were flying high early in the season and had a game against us that was significantly more competitive than we expected it to be. And just kind of falling down a little bit, aren't they?
Well, that's right. This is the thing where the argument that other teams have been making in all season for us about the depth of squad and the cost of squad kind of does come into play because it's a busy league, right? There's lots of games. We rely on lots of players. And we talk about how we are on like the 2 or 3 players away from an absolute disaster, but other teams have that same problem where, it's a lot of games to come. So you can start off great and still fall down with just any level of fitness concerns, right? Like the games are hard and they come real fast. So
yeah.
Speaking of which, mate, a hard-fought draw on the early kickoff on Saturday. Blackburn 0, Middlesbrough 0. Middlesbrough dropping key points as they kind of continue to do. They kind of are on I would say, a downward turn.
Well, they've just been dithering a bit, right? Like, that's a really good, useful point for Blackburn, who are definitely in amongst the relegation candidates, at least on form. They seem to be doing slightly better, I reckon they're probably going to just scrape outside of it, right? Like Pompey are the ones that are properly
Yeah, I mean
capitulating.
it's yeah, Blackburn are doing their best to push out, right? They've had a really quite good run of quite a few points, right? They've got a win, a couple of draws. They're trying, but
It's more so if you know that you need to push over the line to get that second place secured, you'd expect them to do more of it. But this is also the same Middlesbrough that up until they played us, right, that they hadn't scored in like a bunch of games. So they've been very up and down, and they're like good moments have really kept them in the position they're in. But now, unfortunately, they're having a bad moment during a time where they really don't want to be.
yeah, 71% possession for Middlesbrough, 12 shots, 3 of which were on target, a
Means
1.5
nothing.
XG. But
we've
yeah,
had so much possession and
the
done nothing
important
with it.
stat, mate, is 0 goals scored, but at least 0 goals conceded. But it's the sort of downturn in form and the sort of result that makes you think maybe playoffs isn't all we're fighting for. And I'm not saying it's likely. I'm not saying it's Chief Bull. I'm not saying it's likely, but there is a universe where second place is not all that far away. All right, so just bear that in mind in 3 or 4 weeks' time when we really understand how important the running is.
True.
Next up on the early kickoffs, Derby County getting a 1-0 win over Birmingham City. I don't know if you saw any of this on social media, mate, but the Birmingham City fans are not happy. They have had enough. They are done with their owners, and there were lots of chants of get out of our club.
I find it. So they went down. They've come straight back up. They look pretty solid, but because there seemed to be an expectation that they would get promotion, despite being mid-table, they're super angry. And I feel like its recent form's definitely had something to do with it. But 14 wins, 14 losses, 11 draws for a team that have just been newly promoted. Like Charlton would kill for those stats, right? Like it just seems a bit. I don't know. I can understand it because we have been in those positions, and when we're losing a lot and then picking up a win and then not kind of getting from there, we've done exactly the same. I just feel like tempering expectations is difficult to do, but probably something that maybe they should do a little bit more. I don't know.
Yeah,
And obviously, Derby, a team that our former boss at GSPN, one of our former bosses at GSPN, telling us that Derby are absolutely terrible, and now they're like literally sat 2 places below us, only 3 points below us.
yeah, I mean, it's kind of a dream season compared to, I think, what they're expecting. Look, at least some of Birmingham's discontent will probably come from the state of the performance because
yeah,
3 shots, none on target with a 0.15 XG. Whilst I know that XG, like you said in the last game, doesn't really mean a lot, one, when it's that low, is very reflective of being absolutely rubbish, right?
Yeah, I think I understand why when you watch an absolutely abysmal performance to go with abysmal form, it's a bit different, right? Like we've been there too. We just learned to laugh at it. Because what else do you do when you're like 5-0 down against Chelsea at 9 p.m. on like a Wednesday afternoon or whatever? So yeah, but fair play to John Eustace and Derby, right? Like
Yeah,
absolutely killer season and probably a good place for Brereton Diaz to end up, considering he seems to be well liked there and seems to properly be playing his best football there. To be honest,
not 0% chance that they end up in the playoffs either, mate. Just
no,
hanging on in there, only 3 points behind us, like you say. So
right,
anything can happen with the games to come. So, but I think they'll just be happy to even be in the conversation. So,
yeah, true.
fair enough. And in the last early kickoff from Saturday, Ipswich 1, Millwall 1. Now, I don't know how you feel about it, mate, or if you're even looking that far up the table from us. I've heard both things said that either of those teams winning might have been better for us or a draw would have been a good result. I kind of feel like a draw is the best possible result for us. What do you think?
Yeah. Is it because the idea that they go into second means we've got to play against Middlesbrough? Because I feel like any of the teams that are in a playoff situation is going to be completely different to,
Yeah, well, I kind of think if one of those teams had lost, they'd have been on 66 points and meant that we would have, only been 3 points behind. I guess overtaking them and heading up into fourth instead of
if
sixth.
either team had lost, surely if they're on 69 points, they'd have been on 68. So I don't think it would have made much of a difference.
No, you're right. My maths is terrible.
For the man who does all the mathematics on the show, mate. But I think I understand the point a little bit, and kind of most people would expect Ipswich to be up there by now. I feel like it was a showing of the championship on terrestrial TV, right? It was on ITV, so and I guess it showed 2 goals, so I think that's probably an important thing. But I'm kind of happy with them both having a draw. Like, it doesn't really bother me who we end up playing. Yeah. If we get to a point where we have to do playoffs, it's going to be any opponent we have in front of us will be probably as motivated as us to go up, right? So
yeah, I think it keeps, like I said earlier, mate, I think it keeps genuinely as high as second, technically within reach. Like, we're only 8 points behind Middlesbrough now, and that's only like a Saturday, Wednesday, Saturday away from turning around. Right? And that means that the other 3 teams between us have to also not win all of those games in that fixture period. But it's not out of the question, Like, it's still unlikely, but it's, I don't know, just the way we're playing, maybe, just maybe.
Just maybe.
But like you say, the eternal optimist in me coming through there. Right, moving in to the 3 o'clock kickoffs then. Bristol City 0, West Bromwich Albion 1. Huge 3 points for the Baggies. Really not good for our counterparts down the road. Pushing them 3 points clear of Portsmouth, 4 points clear of the drop zone of Leicester. And of course Oxford, who we lost to. The upward turn in form of West Brom since we played them makes that draw look a lot better than it felt at the time, doesn't it?
Yeah, I could also say the same for a few games this week, to be honest. There's a lot of teams that we've played against where you kind of go, oh, we should have absolutely battered them, and then you look and you're like, actually, we're not doing too bad. Like, speaking of the later game against Coventry, right, where they've gone immediately back to winning ways. But yeah, really good, obviously, for West Brom. Really good for your family that I know have obviously got West Brom fans in it with it. And generally good for us because it kind of keeps Portsmouth down the bottom. But depends, mate. Like, it's one of those things where if we stay in the Championship, we'd want Portsmouth there to be able to have a South Coast derby against. If we get promoted and they go down, it's a non-entity for us, right?
Oh, look, for me, it's a win-win. The possibility of another South Coast derby is fantastic, but Pompey getting relegated is still really funny. I don't know.
You're right.
I could take joy from all of those situations. It's fine. Right, next up, Charlton 0, Norwich 1. Charlton, like you said earlier, after a really solid start to the season, really falling off and not fully out of the way of that bottom of the table pile, if we're being honest.
At least Nathan Jones is handling it well and not having meltdowns over not having his hand shaked or whatever. You're aware of this, Greg, aren't you? Where he basically threw a bit of a paddy because Philip Clement shook his hand, but shook his hand last because and there's and then all of the clips that I've seen is just him, admittedly different situation, like playoff final and stuff, but him collapsing to the floor and rolling around and all that, rather than actually going over and shaking the manager's hand. It's just so you can understand I think it's one of the reasons that he's such a prominent character, right? Is that the stuff that people blame, as you pointed out, advertised boardings, right? Spending power. It's all the stuff that Nathan Jones complains about. It's just the weirdest stuff. None of it's sort of just normal. And then I guess what is normal? It's hard to define. But either way, another result that showed that Norwich got there early, scored early.
Yeah,
that could have been us. The other day, it wasn't. So good stuff.
Yeah, and look, the picture tells that they almost dominated Charlton, right? 60% possession, 17 shots, 5 on target.
Mate,
You know,
Norwich's form has been win, 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 loss, win, which is
yeah, they
exactly the
were
same as
the
Coventry's, which is win, 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 loss,
most
win.
informed team in the league coming up to the point we played them. So putting them away, even with the sort of level of discomfort we did, is a great result. And
Yes.
I mean, look, they are. I don't think. I mean, I can't remember if it was though them in the Opta stats, but it feels like. I mean, 9 points off of us in sixth. Maybe it's out of reach, but who knows, man? It's a crazy league. Next up, Hull City 3, Sheffield Wednesday 1. Wednesday taking a 1-0 lead in this, and then
literally a minute. That's
yeah,
must be devastating.
Yeah.
And then
Man, I wanted Sheffield to win so bad, but for selfish reasons, because I think the whole dropping points would also benefit us, right? So, look, what can you say about Sheffield Wednesday that we haven't said already on the show?
Please see all championship reviews and review of our
they're
game
still
against
showing
Sheffield
up.
Wednesday.
They're still trying, and credit to every single player in that team for that. In the situation that they have been given and the hand they have been dealt. What more is there to it? Hull, of course, spotty form at the moment. Few wins, few losses. Another one that are in this like spotty form in the playoff places above us. That I mean, Middlesbrough spotty form. Ipswich, okay, doing pretty well, but drawing with Millwall and dropping points. Millwall with a loss and a draw.
What I'm hearing is we need to win every single one of our remaining games, Greg, and not have any silly little draws like we've had in the run-up.
Yeah,
right?
well, look, if we win every single one of our games, we guarantee playoffs and maybe better is where we're at, right? The position we're in. So it's well and truly within our hands, for sure. Right, next up, the most interesting game of the weekend, I think, as QPR put 6 past Pompey, and Pompey did at least score 1, I suppose. But is that actually a bonus? I don't know. Consolation.
I think a combination of threatened relegation, poor finances, their manager probably not happy with the fact that he's not had as much reinforcements as he wants, being shouted at by everybody. I think one of their team came over. He's the guy that signed from Derby who scored against us. Is the only one they kind of really like at the moment. You've got a striker that they obviously sold and replaced people, and now they've got a striker that is unable to score either. There's just so much to kind of try and do, but it's kind of funny. It's weird, right? Because that's happened with QPR. It's happened to the other way round to QPR, twice this season, and now they seem to have put it on somebody else.
I mean, it wasn't. I don't know if you've gone and watched the highlights, but I have because it's really funny. It wasn't beat by performance either. These goals were silly.
Yes.
To put it in perspective with stats alone, QPR scored 6 goals. They only had 9 shots. So it's crazy. It's like one of those freak days at the office. Pompey, to their credit, managed 20 shots, but
yeah, it's difficult.
That doesn't matter if you're conceding 6, does it? You can have 400 shots coming to 1 goal if you've already conceded 3 in 28 minutes, and go from bad to worse there. Some pressure on their manager, I guess, off the back of that.
Yeah,
I don't know. Don't know if anything will come of it, but like you say, kind of don't mind if Pompey stay up and we get another South Coast derby if we don't go up. Also really funny if Pompey get relegated, but that scoreline in particular definitely got cheers around St Mary's when it was shown quite prominently on the big screen next to our result. Good job, Saints admins, as always. Right, next up, Sheffield United 1, Wrexham 2. Wrexham were 1-0 down at half-time and turned it around with their second half performance to, get the points back, keep up there, put the pressure on us, I suppose. It's not really a 2-horse race, but they're definitely our closest contender to be worried about currently, right? So
Yeah, damaging for Sheffield United. Obviously, he came back once Chris Wilder came back. Took a while to run into form, got into form, and I've just fallen out of it again. Again, considering they were the ones that the supercomputer said had like the 70% chance of winning the league, was baffling. And Wrexham seem to have, as I said at the beginning of the season, I'm quite glad has come into fruition, is the fact they've kind of grown into the season, right? The players have grown into themselves. You've got Windass playing really, really well for them, with much to the probably disdain of former Sheffield Wednesday. But obviously, him having that extra bit of spice playing for Sheffield Wednesday, got a goal for his former side whilst playing for Wrexham. So, yeah, good stuff. It's just, hopefully they don't do too well, right? But again, it's kind of like, it's all in our hands. This is why I'm kind of like, the results around us shouldn't matter as much. We should be able to,
it does keep the pressure on, right? Them continuing to pick up the points makes it tight, whereas they dropped points in the week and gave us that window to pull slightly ahead early. And
And I would also like to remind everybody that Jay Rodriguez does still play football and does still play football for Wrexham.
Yeah, came on for for what?
He came on the 92nd minute. He probably came on for 30 seconds. He's there to wind down the clock, right? And Danny Ings didn't come on for Sheffield United at all. So again, like, if you told me at the beginning of the season you can have Danny Ings or you can have this bloke called Carl Aaron, I'd be like, you're insane. Obviously, Danny Ings. And now I'm like, maybe I shouldn't be a football scout, right? Luckily, I never made it my career, and I'm in my 30s now, so I'm going to start. But sometimes, it's funny how things work out, isn't it?
It really is. It really is when you look back at how we were even as many as 14 games ago, mate. Right, 2 more games to go. Well, technically 3, but we're not going to cover Southampton versus Oxford. If you want to hear how we feel about that, go back and listen to yesterday's episode. It covered it in length and in detail, but safe to say we were pretty pleased with it. Next up, Watford 0, Leicester City 0.
Not good for Watford, who are supposed to be still chasing promotion. And,
not good for Leicester, who pull themselves out of.
Yeah,
I mean, the trouble they find themselves in, right? It's
Daka missing a penalty after spending a vast majority of the time of this season criticised because his goal scoring just isn't there for what they expected. But I think that if you're Watford, you're really, really annoyed because that's just going to feel like points dropped. If you're Leicester, it's like, well, great. We basically threw away the chance to win a game. And then you're looking at the bottom of that table and okay. It was one of those things where it's looking more likely at the moment that Leicester have enough in them to pip Portsmouth, right? Like, if they can get a win and Portsmouth can only pick up a draw.
I don't know, man. Like, Leicester have just not looked good at all, especially since that points deduction specifically.
Yeah, exactly. It's like a psychological...
It's like it's taken the wind out of them completely. And I mean...
But I think the financial losses and everything that's going on behind the scenes of Pompey is going to take the wind out of the sails more, right? And you got Oxford United that are just trying their best and, again, had a better spell of form before they came against us. Wednesday already relegated, so it's a non-entity. I don't know. Like, I feel like if you're Watford, that game is a wasted opportunity. If you're Leicester, it's frustrating. But I genuinely expect to see them finish 21st, probably, which is still nuts. Yeah. You wouldn't have even thought that, even with the points deduction.
I mean, if they do go down, would it be the first time ever we've had back-to-back years where teams who got relegated to the Championship from the Premier League instantly also went down to League One? I don't know. I'd have to look into that to be sure. But
I don't know. But I can't remember
that's occurred very often. So,
the only other people that have won the Premier League that haven't really had a presence in there for a long time since then has been Blackburn, right? Leicester now will probably join that group. And, I don't know necessarily what they have in common. I just remember that, there's a lot of Leicester players that were playing that year that are now dotted about major elite clubs, and none of them with Leicester. But don't worry, they still have Vestergaard. And currently Joe Aribo, who, sure plays for them.
I don't think that Joe Aribo has quite been the difference maker that that they wanted.
I feel like he's not
Bruno
picking up a contract from them at the end of the season. Put it that way. He
didn't
also
even make the bench in this game, by the way. So
he did. He's got incredibly low scores.
yeah. He was on the bench. He's only played 10 minutes.
Came on for 10 minutes. Came on for skips.
Yeah.
So it was a bit of a difficult person to come on for. But either way, again, sort of similar sort of appearances for us, right? Very much sort of bit part and not really making
Hard
the
to get.
difference they did last year.
Hard to bring yourself up. Only given that as well, it's
and like
really
I think the thing with the Rebo is like, you know, when you've got like your triumvirate of players and mates that you're playing football with, right? When he was him and Paul and Suleiman are all very, very pally, and then they kind of all leave and you're left on your own. It's probably a bit isolating. And so yeah, like we've discussed all this before, but it's just a weird game, a result neither of them want, and going to feel like a massive missed opportunity for Leicester. That if they'd actually just scored the penalty, probably would have won them the game.
Mm.
Anywho, on to the last game, which I've already kind of alluded to.
Yeah, Coventry 3, Swansea 0.
Mm-hmm.
Coventry back, like you say, to their standard form, I guess, for most of the season, to be honest. Just winning reasonably comfortably. Thomas Asante putting them in front with a penalty, and then Grimes and Sakamoto following up. All goals in the first half. To be honest, the stats paint a picture of a pretty even game with sort of chances both ways, but Swansea just not able to put any of those chances away. And I mean, I don't really think there's any shame in Swansea losing to a team as in form as Coventry.
We expected to be honest, didn't we? Yeah. And like I think it's difficult for them as well because obviously Matt Grimes, their captain for a long time. And then, if you remember rightly, we really struggled to sign him. We wanted to sign him for years. Even Russell Martin wanted to take him along with Manning and all the rest of them that he wanted to take from Swansea, right?
Yeah.
And you know, so that's got to be quite difficult for, you know, fans to deal with, and it just feels like a lifetime ago since Snoop Doggy Dogg was bringing down the house, right? And I'm going to keep making that joke forever because, like, if you're going to turn yourself into a banner club, which we have done on multiple occasions, you're going to have to deal with the consequence of
it. Yeah. Look, Swansea now sit in 14th on 52 points, which is still that kind of same limbo area, right? Whereas I guess mathematically could still either go up or go down, but realistically,
it's the predictions that we made at the beginning of the season of the mid-table clubs have ended up mid-table, right? Like, no offense to them all, but sort of like your QPRs, your Prestons, your Stokes, they've all kind of ended up where we expected them to. I'm surprised we've ended up where we've expected to, and it's almost weird that like the role reversal of like us and Leicester, where that could have been us, right? If we carried on that continued run of form. You know, we don't know what players could have moved on during January, and we don't know what could have happened. And instead, you're looking at former Premier League champions currently fighting it out with little old Oxford United and Portsmouth to stay, you know, in that bottom two. Let's face it, the bottom three doesn't really count when one of the teams has already been relegated.
Indeed.
Crazy way to lead off before the international break, mate, isn't it?
That's it. That brings us to an end. That's it for our championship roundup. And like I say, 8 games left, 8 big important championship games. This is it. This is the kind of last chance for all of the teams to mentally prepare themselves, try and get into that zone, try and push themselves on and picture and feel like what those 8 games are going to be like. Because, you know, after this break, it's not going to stop, right? It's going to come and come and come and come. And if we do win and go to the FA Cup semi-finals, it's going to throw even more fixtures into the mix. And then, you know, we've got trips to Wembley to plan for all of it. And we'll have additional fixtures for playoffs thrown in. It's just going to be chaos. It's going to be the reason we love it, mate. That's what it's going to be. It's going to be every day something is going to be happening. And we're going to be here to cover it all. And I can't wait. And like I say, we're going to do the same thing. We're going to take the rest of this week and get ourselves back ready for those run of games and get ourselves into the zone, ready to cover the run-in all of its glory. We will be back sometime next week to talk all things Saints and all things Championship and all things football. But until then, everyone, thank you so much for joining us. Let us know in the comments on the socials how you're feeling and how you will be preparing yourself for the most exciting part of the season as it all comes to a head. We are at Daily Saints Pod, absolutely everywhere. X, Blue Sky, TikTok, Facebook, Instagram, YouTube, everywhere. Hit us up, let us know. And while you're there, why not give us a like or a subscribe, or go and listen to some of our other episodes that stay as true as today as ever before. There's one about why Pep Guardiola ruined football, which is particularly pressing the day after they won the Carabao Cup. But until next week, everyone, enjoy the international break. Have a wonderful week. We will see you all then.
This is the Daily Saints Pod with Zach and Greg.